And we're back one more time for yet another episode of
The Horror Guys.
Ooh.
This is episode 273 of The Horror Guys.
And we're probably going to have 4 movies and a short for you.
I bet we will.
That's the way it usually works out.
Anyway, I'm Kevin.
Oh, I'm Brian.
And yeah, we're going to talk about them. What do we have this week?
We've got another free book out.
We do.
We do. This is... it's not the Horror Guy's Guide. What's it called? Oh, it's Lon Chaney Jr., the biography.
About the guy, not just the movies he did.
He's more than just a werewolf.
He is.
No, that's not true. He's more than just a wolf man.
Wolfman, yeah. He did a lot of stuff.
He did Frankenstein. He did The Mummy. He did a whole bunch of humans. Yeah, he was pretty...
Sometimes he was even the good guy.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can read all about that. Stop over at hourlongpress.com. There's a link there to pick up your book free until March 26th on Amazon.
Free.
It's not free after that, so hurry.
Yeah, get it now.
And of course, if you like these biographies, we've already got Vincent Price out there. We've got Peter Cushing out there. We've got Bela Lugosi out there. Next week, it'll be somebody else.
There's more to come.
Oh, yeah. There's at least 2 more horror icons coming. Maybe 3. Maybe 6, 10, 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
Depends on if I can find me a good list of horror icons.
You know anybody who knows horror movies and has access to that information?
No.
Okay.
All right. But you're probably here listening to us talk about movies. And we've got some movies this time that are also written, of course, down in horrorbulletin.com, our free weekly newsletter, where you can read all the reviews, all the commentary, all the synopsis. And, of course, at the end of the month, if you want, you can buy those in paperback, too.
Very nice.
Horrorbulletin.com. Boy, I'm smooth today, fitting all these ads right in there, huh?
We are our own sponsor.
Woohoo! Yeah. But this week, we've got... What do we got?
A brand new science fiction movie, Restore Point, which was really good. And then we're going to look at a slightly older zom-com, MexZombies. And we'll dig into the archives to watch The Ninth Gate, which was 1999, and way back from Night of the Demon, which was 1957. And then over at the bonus films that we're not going to talk about fully, we're just going to kind of mention here, there's one, Varan the Unbelievable, from 1962.
Which is weird. There was...
It was weird.
Giant Monster Varan. It came out in 1958. It was a Japanese kaiju movie. You know, like Godzilla. It came out not too long after Godzilla. And from all reports, it was all right. Then the Americans in 1962 took that same movie, chopped about half of it out, put in an American soldier as a subplot, and released it in English. And it is so stupid.
And you can't really find the original anymore.
No, the original is very hard to find.
Yeah, this one is pretty easy to find, but it's really choppy, and it's really not very good.
Yeah, I would like to see the original Varan.
Because
if anybody knows where to
tell...
get the 1958 one, which is, I believe, black and white, and it's all Japanese. If it's got American people running around in it, it's not the one I want to see.
And you can tell which parts are the Japanese parts, and those are like the best parts of the movie.
Yeah. The main character in this movie is some American soldier, and he never comes within sight of the monster. It's just him reacting.
Because they filmed it later. Yeah.
It was horrible.
And then we got a pretty good one. That was 1963, The Evil Eye. That's an Italian film it's considered the first Giallo movie.
Yes, the first Giallo?
Giallo?
Gelato?
Giallo.
Ice cream?
Yeah,
I don't know.
However you pronounce it. Yeah. Black and white, kind of a thriller.
Was it black
mystery.
and white?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Liked that one quite a bit.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to find. I believe it was on Tubi.
But it doesn't get a lot of talk, and it should. It deserves more recognition than it has.
It was the first of its type.
Mm-hmm. And it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get on to this week's films. And this week we're going to start off with a brand new, 2023. It came out in...
it came out for us this year.
Where did it come from?
Eastern Europe. Several different countries.
Slovakia and several of those countries around there. Very Eastern Europe-y.
And they generically say Central Europe. 2041.
It's done in 3 or 4 countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I assume they're all EU countries, so they're all working together.
Yeah.
Directed by Robert Hlaz, written by Romislav Seka, probably Cheka, I don't know. Robert Hlaz and
Oh, these names. Yeah.
Zdenek Jesselin, and I'm sure that I've managed that one.
And it is not in English. It's with subtitles.
Yes. Stars Andrea Moilova, Matej Hadek, Vaclav Nuzel, Milan Andrik, and Carol Dobry. You should really just read the review if you want to get those names right.
We apologize for the mispronunciation of those
Hour
names.
and 55 minutes, and there's a trailer in the show notes. We're not going to spoil this to death because I'd be willing to bet none of you have seen it.
Well, it's just recently available over here.
Yes.
Yeah. They got first dibs on it. What with it being a European film and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever play the video games where you're wandering around and the things are shooting at you and you jump up onto the save point and you're like, aha, you can't kill me now. And they kill you, but you pop right back.
Uh-huh.
What if that was real?
What if that was real? Where every couple days, at least, you saved yourself. And then if your body dies, they revive you and you go back to that point wherever it was saved.
But there's limits.
But there's a limit, and there's catches, and there's complications.
There are rules.
Yeah.
And there's always rules.
And there's greed.
Spoiler free, what
Yeah.
happens?
Well, this was a science fiction crime drama, but it's got body horror and the dead being brought back to life. So we're going to say it overlaps into horror enough.
We stretch horror sometimes.
We stretched it. But this was so good. The futuristic world they create is really great with lots of technology being used. You see a lot of science fiction movies
Where there's like one thing different.
Yeah.
This is the future where they have
now,
flying cars.
And, almost every shot had some cool bit of technology in it. Even if it wasn't featured, you'd see it off on the side. Or I noticed right away her gun had a screen on it. I think that was displaying the number of bullets left.
Everything is a little futuristic.
Yeah. Well, the story is gripping and it moves well. All the film elements and the people in it are excellent. A big thumbs up for both of us.
Yeah. If you get a chance to find this one, I don't know where it's coming out. I probably should have looked that up.
JustWatch.com will tell you.
Yes, of course it will. But it's out now, and it's subtitled. So if you don't like subtitles, you might want to suffer along with it anyway because it's really good.
It is totally worth it.
It looks great.
This was so cool.
All right, again, I'm not going to spoil it to death, but I'll give you a little introduction here. We open in Central Europe in 2041. This is probably the least believable part of it.
That's a heck of a lot of technology for only 17 years from now.
Yes, that's a lot of advance. They said 2081, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not going to be that advanced in 17 years.
I don't think so.
But we're told that violent crime has increased. All citizens now have the constitutional right to be revived in the eventuality of an unknown death. This new technology is called Restore Point. So crime's got so bad they can't catch the criminals, but they can bring you back if you're murdered.
Yeah. Or
okay, that's one solution.
Yeah, accidents, whatever. Yeah, and your body, and they bring back your actual body too. They have a way to bring back
which is not explained
your
very
dead
well.
body. They don't explain it.
Saving and restoring your brain, I can get that. I can get behind that, but they never explain quite where they don't clone you and put you in a new body. They bring the old dead body back somehow.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well, we begin on a quartet of people being murdered. Detective M is scanning the building to find people before they're killed. She kicks in the door to catch the killer, who says restore points are unnatural. Rather than be captured, the man jumps off the roof. Okay, so right there, you've got like a terrorist group that is against this whole technology thing.
And right off the bat, you see that the guy is holding them until they reach 48 hours.
Yeah, he's waiting for the timer to say 48 hours, and
there's
then he shoots
limit
them or
where
whatever.
you can't be restored if it's been more than 48 hours. And that's fully explained.
There are reasons, yes.
There are reasons for it, yeah.
Well, we could then cut to M's husband, Peter, who is a concert pianist, and she complains that she has to work instead of going to his latest recital. No, turns out that was a recording of a previous holographic phone call that she was talking to. Her real husband died on that trip. The car drives her to the FEF office, and we never did quite figure out what FEF stands for.
They don't, if they gave the acronym, I didn't see it. The police.
Something European Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
The boss chews her out for letting the River of Life suspect escape. After 48 hours, the save points expire, and he was waiting until just that amount of time passed to kill his victims so it would be permanent. The River of Life wants the restore points eliminated. and we hear that Peter died 2 years ago, and M holds a grudge against the terrorist group. There's some doubt as to whether she threw that terrorist off the roof or not, and the boss assigns her to a new case.
Yeah, and attacks
We know that he jumped, but nobody else knows that.
Attacks are happening from this river of life, are killing people. And in the news, there's a current story with a bus that was attacked, a bus full of people that they killed. So these are bad guys.
Okay, so she gets called to see the latest victim, who was the head of the resuscitation unit, and his wife. Neither of the victims had a valid backup, which isn't really possible, because they work for the company that makes the stuff. That'd be like Tim Cook not having a phone on him.
Yeah, why would they do that?
They both had Restore insurance, and Rohan, the CEO of the company, wants to go private, which would allow for instant continuous backups and restoring. As it is now, people have to keep submitting their backups manually, and they've got to make sure it's within that 48-hour hard limit. He passes M off to an assistant named Petra. She demonstrates the process to M, and we see a kid who was killed in a car accident being reborn and restored. His sister was in the car, and she didn't back up regularly, and they aren't allowed to restore after a backup exceeds 48 hours. All right. Well, then she runs in, on the way out of the hospital there, she runs into David Kurlstadt, the latest murder victim, walking around in the garage.
He's back.
Wait, he didn't have a backup. How is he back?
Yeah, he was permanently killed.
And that's the story.
That's explained.
Yeah, it is.
There's the mystery she has to solve, and there's a whole bunch of mystery and figuring out what's going on, and measures and countermeasures, and it's a complicated story.
We do have the full spoilery synopsis on the site, which you can go read if you really have to, but we'd recommend you just go see the thing instead.
Yeah.
It has a lot of believable technology, much beyond what we have now, but not impossible. It's a very futuristic-looking movie, unlike so many where everything is the same as today except for one little detail. Still, the big idea here is the save points, and they really do cover a lot of the angles of a technology like that. Well, what about this? What about that? Could you do this? Could you do that? And they answer most of those questions.
They do, yeah.
The acting is good. The sets, some are real, some are CGI, but they all look really good. The story is pretty dense. It's a lot of reading for a subtitled movie, but it all seemed to make sense in the end. It was far better than we expected from the trailers, and we both highly recommend it.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. That was Restore Point.
Yeah. What's next?
MexZombies. All one word, MexZombies. From 2022, which is again a situation where I think it was released in other countries before we got it. It was here in 2023, I believe.
Right, yes. Directed by Shava Cartas, written by Luis Gamboa and Santiago Limon, stars Inaki Godoy, Marcelo Barcel, Roberta Damian, and Luciana Vale. 1 hour, 28 minutes. And we watched that Netflix show, One Piece.
It's the main guy.
And we'd like, oh, this is fantastic. We strongly recommend One Piece because it's just so stupid, it's hilarious. It's good.
Yeah, very funny.
But we noticed that we always look at IMDb to see what the stars have done other than that. And the main guy in that was in this. So we hey, it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler free. It was very fun. It's full of humor, over-the-top gore, action, and likable characters. It's a classic spreading zombie plague story with lots of silliness. And we both give it a big thumbs up.
We do.
What happens?
Well, in a secret laboratory 2 days before Halloween, a scientist works with some lab rats. The rats look vicious and attack the other rats. And the scientist then takes his work home with him. Well, some men in the parking lot take the formula from him. And credits roll.
Bad things happen.
Yeah. Well, a couple of men in hazardous material suits are out in their rowboat at night. They watch as a couple of bad guys row a body out into the toxic lake. It's the guys from the parking lot and the dead scientist. Well, they inject the 2 men in the boat with the new drug. They shoot one of the men, but the other one gets convulsions, and they throw them both into the lake. Tavo gets ready for school and leaves. It's Halloween. We see that Tavo is not good at parkour.
Ouch.
Yeah. Then some little kid steals his shoes, adding insult to injury. He runs into his friend Kronos, who talks about Woody Harrelson in Zombieland, and he then faints at the sight of a cockroach. Kronos does. They both like Anna a lot. So we're setting up the characters, young people having a good time in this. It's kind of a closed.
It's a gated community.
It's a gated
yes.
community, yeah.
And
Now,
it's in Mexico. This is all in Spanish and subtitled.
Is it in Mexico? I thought it was in southern Texas.
I don't know. I think they're all speaking Spanish.
There's so much Spanish.
It's a
there.
very Spanish town if it's not Mexico.
Okay, it must be Mexico. See, that's how little I know.
I don't know that they ever really said.
Tavo's father is Lalo, and he's got a dead body to hold awake. It's Don Sigas, the scientist who drowned in the river. Well, the dead man left Lalo a huge pornography collection, and both Tavo and Kronos are fascinated with the good luck that they've had. Suddenly they have access. Well, they get pretty engrossed in the porn until a zombie shows up in the room. The dead man is up and about. Kronos says he must be a zombie, but is it a fast zombie or a slow zombie?
They watch the zombie movies, too. They know to ask these questions.
Yeah. Well, Tavo and Kronos run to tell Lalo that his father is up and moving about, but he doesn't believe them. They show him a video on their phone, so he is at least curious. Kronos explains the rules of zombies and how the infection spreads. Meanwhile, Don Sigas attacks and bites Ari, a guy who came over for some pot. And, of course, it's Halloween, so as more and more people get zombified...
Are they zombies or are they costumes?
They're wandering around, and a lot of people are just thinking, oh, what great realistic costumes. Yeah. Well, the two guys can't find Lalo or his father, so they decide to head over to the party in the common area. Anna is there, and Tavo warns her about the zombie threat. David is there, and he's a jealous type, and he doesn't get along with Tavo. Meanwhile, the three now zombies are walking right down the street, and like I said, since it's Halloween, nobody really pays much attention. Soon there are more zombies, because it does spread, and they hear music at the party and home in on that. David gets bitten, and Anna runs away with Tavo. The group ends up decapitating a zombie with a hedge trimmer. And this is so new that we shouldn't completely spoil this, I think.
Okay, well, it's a zombie comedy movie and more stuff happens.
Lots of funny things.
Lots of weirdness.
Yeah.
There are some very slow motion gore shots here that are really funny. You know, somebody swipes in the blood goes splattering, and it's all slow motion, three-dimensional, Matrix style. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely some good laughs here. You don't want to think too hard about this one. It's just silly fun. We did like it more than we expected, and we do recommend it, especially if you're a fan of One Piece.
Because it seemed like some similarities in the humor, too.
Yeah, a little overblown
a
comedic
little
kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real relation between the two stories.
Oh, not at all. No.
Other than the actor.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of zombies, we have a short film this week, Violet Butterfield, Makeup Artist for the Dead, from 2024. Written and directed by Brooke H. Sellers, stars Michelle Malentina, Martini Bear, Trevor Chapman, and Wiccan Taylor. And that one person in the star there, Martini Bear.
Martini Bear. Is that a stage name or what?
Could it not be?
Yeah. This is free to watch on YouTube.
And it's 12 minutes.
And you should watch it because it's weird and it's funny. And
It's won a bunch of awards.
It's out of the ordinary.
What's it about?
Well, we open on Violet, who's putting on makeup for a corpse for a funeral. Looks like she's just, an undertaker.
Mortician,
type.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the next woman she works on has a high-heeled shoe stuck in her neck.
Ouch.
Yeah, but Violet says she can fix that. But before she can continue, she gets a visitor at the back door. It's Shirley, a drag queen with a major problem with her leg.
Yeah.
And as far as commentary, we're not going to totally spoil it, but it's very 1970s retro in style, which really works well here. And it starts out fairly normal, like you think you know what's going on. And as the story progresses, a whole new world opens up. And why is this happening and how? We don't really know.
It just is. Go with it.
It just is. It's weird, and just go along for the ride. There was one guy, Marvin. His story went on maybe a little bit too long, but the rest was great. I mean, even his story is weird.
Yeah, I think they could have cut him down by a minute or two, though.
A little bit, yeah.
His story started to bore me a little bit. I mean, it was important.
It was important, yeah.
But overall, just the world they live in looks interesting.
Uh-huh, yeah. kind of an alternate reality.
Yeah. Hey, you read any good books lately?
No, I haven't.
No occult books?
No occult books, like with drawings and
With
drawings by the devil, maybe.
Yeah, special drawings are like puzzles.
Yeah.
You ever watch those
Where you put 'em
those
together?
pictures where you compare one to the other and compare the differences?
And find the differences.
It's a whole movie about that called
There
The Ninth
is.
Gate
It's
from
a whole-
1999.
It's a puzzle movie.
Directed by Roman Polanski, written by Arturo Perez Reverte, John Brownjohn,
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
and Enrique Urbizu. Stars Johnny Depp, Frank Langella, and Lena Olin. 2 hours and 13 minutes. It's definitely the longest movie this week. Kevin's trying to correct my spelling of Enrique, and he's not managing
Although
it.
I'm not sure if that's right.
Q-U-E.
Q-U-E. Okay, it is what? Q-U-E. Okay.
There you go.
Enrique.
Not
Yeah.
Enrique, or whatever I got typed there.
Yeah.
There's a trailer in the show notes, but this movie's 25 years old, so you probably have seen it or have heard of it. Spoiler free. What happened spoiler free?
Excellent direction from Polanski and excellent acting from Johnny Depp and Frank Langella. Elevate what isn't really that much of a movie or story to something that's really watchable. I mean, I thought it was kind of thin script-wise. It's a scavenger hunt as the immoral hero tries to piece together a puzzle while dark forces are working against him. And horror guy Kevin, that's me, I was somewhat annoyed with the ending. I wasn't satisfied.
Was that it?
That's it? That was the solution?
Roman Polanski.
That was his prize? That's it?
Roman Polanski's one of those guys we're not supposed to like anymore, right?
Right.
He's one of those.
There was some.
He lives in Europe because he's a bad person.
Yeah. If he,
Okay, yeah, all right.
Because he fled to Europe to avoid charges. So
I get the bad people mixed up sometimes.
yeah. But he's a skilled filmmaker.
Well, this is 24 years old, too. He may not have done much recently. I don't know.
He is. He's still working. He
Okay.
still works. Yeah.
Well, a man writes in his very ornate office. We pan around to see that he has a noose hanging nearby. He finishes his letter and then hangs himself. We pan over again to the man's bookshelves, where it's clear that one book is missing. Credits roll.
What one book is it, I wonder?
Dean Corso, a rare book expert, talks to a family about buying an old man's books. He appraises the collection at $600,000, and he looks at a collection of Don Quixote that he says is not very valuable at all, but he offers him $4,000 for it. The old man, who can't speak, knows his heirs are being robbed, but he can't speak.
Mm-hmm.
Another book expert comes in on the way out and calls Corso unscrupulous. Corso overvalued the collection, which will screw his competitor when he tries to buy what's left. He then goes to his book broker friend Bernie to sell the Don Quixote, which is worth a fortune.
Yeah, he's a weasel, and he's good at it.
It's business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Corso goes to a seminar given by Boris Balkan about conceptions of evil and witches. Corso goes to sleep at the old man's talk. He's boring.
Mm-hmm.
Balkan says Corso is one of those guys who stabs friends in the back, which we've seen that.
Yeah.
Balkan is a client, and he pays well. Balkan collects books about the devil, and he has a whole library full of them.
Yeah, he does.
You know who else has a library of occult books?
No, who?
Supposedly Christopher Lee.
Oh, yeah?
There's a biography might be coming up in a week or so that might talk about that.
And that's mentioned.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
They are extremely rare, and he's only missing one book, The Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows, written in 1666. You think the guy who wrote that just waited for that year to roll around?
Yeah. It's like, this is the year to do it.
The author was burned, and only one real copy survived. There were supposed to be 3, but 2 are fake. Balkan has one, bought from the man who killed himself earlier. The books are based upon a book supposedly written by Satan himself. The books have hints that will allow someone to actually conjure up Satan. Balkan wants Corso to get the other 2 copies of the books to figure out which is the real one. Balkan knows there's something not right with his copy, since the devil didn't show up. He's tried it.
And he's got the right man for the job who will round him up at any cost.
Corso then goes and talks to Leanna Teffler, the dead man's widow. She tells him the story of where her husband got the book, and he asks if Andrew ever tried to do a ritual from the book, and Leanna laughs at the idea. When he goes home, his apartment has been broken into and the place has been trashed. Fortunately, he had the book with him, and he goes and leaves the book at Bernie's place where it'll be safe. Leanna comes to see him, and she wants the book back. She offers him a lot of money for it, but he doesn't bite. She then tries to sex it out of him. If money doesn't work, seduce him.
It's worth a try.
Since he doesn't actually have the book on him anymore, she gets a little annoyed and breaks a bottle over his head. You made me do that for nothing? Corso goes back to Bernie's and finds Bernie dead, posed like one of the pictures in the book. Whoever did it didn't find the book, so Corso takes it with him. He calls Balkan and says he wants out. It's too dangerous. He wants to return the book, but Balkan offers him 10 times the fee to continue. He must be onto something.
An offer he couldn't refuse.
Corso flies to Europe to continue his search. He goes to an old man book dealer who smokes and drops ashes all over the books.
And that's a recurring theme.
Yes, it is.
Many, not just Corso, but others, these rare, priceless, immeasurably valuable books.
This is the smokingest movie I've ever seen.
They're smoking a cigarette while looking at them.
No gloves.
Dropping ashes, no gloves, smoking cigarettes over them. What the?
I've seen people with $1,000 comic books take better care of their stuff than this guy.
Uh-huh.
Well, the man says Liana would never have given the book up. They owned it before Liana's husband bought it. They swear the book is not a forgery. The engravings in the book were signed by LCF, which they think is Lucifer himself.
Okay.
Because that's the way you do initials, is Lucifer.
Lucifer. Yeah.
C is my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Fur.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, when he leaves, Corso is almost buried in an accident outside. He takes a train and runs into a woman he's seen somewhere before, and he thinks she's following him. He calls her Green Eyes, and he thinks Balkan sent her to tail him. Next, he goes to see Victor Fargus, the owner of one of the other copies of the book. Fargus's house is huge and almost completely empty. He's going broke, and he sold almost all the contents. They compare Corso's copy to Fargus's, and they notice slight differences in the pictures. Some were drawn by LCF, and others were drawn by AT. Of the 9 pictures, Balkan's has 3 LCF drawings, and Fargus's also has 3 different LCF drawings.
Oh, so you have to catch all the else. They're like Pokemon.
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
As he leaves Fargus's place, Corso is nearly run over by someone, but Green Eyes rides up on a motorcycle to scare the man away. Corso catches up with Green Eyes again that night at the hotel, and she's intentionally evasive. Yet he gets a phone call from Balkan for an update. Where's my books? Morning comes, and Green Eyes tells Corso that he needs to go back to Fargus's place. Sometime in the night, Fargus has conveniently drowned in his fountain. Corso goes in and takes the book. There were signs of a struggle there, and the book is half burnt in the fireplace. The pages with the pictures have been torn out, and Corso wants to know who Green Eyes is working for, but she won't say.
She's mysterious.
Corso goes to see the Baroness Kessler, who owns the 3rd copy of the book. The old woman says she's been in love with the devil her entire life. The old woman mentions the Order of the Silver Serpent, a secret society devoted to keeping the secret of the book and having lots of orgies. Well, I mean, if you're going to collect a book, you may as well have an orgy too.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds kind of easy and fun.
And you think if there was a secret society hundreds of years old about these books, the other 2 copies wouldn't just be floating around in book sales.
You'd think so, yeah.
Well, the organization read from Liana's copy in previous years, which is probably why she wants it back. When Balkan's name comes up, the old woman throws Corso out.
She knows of Balkan.
As he leaves, Corso sees the man who tried to run him over a few days ago, and is following him still. The man chases and attacks him, but Green Eyes literally flies in and runs the man off. She's very strange, and the fact doesn't escape Corso.
And
she flies.
She literally swooped down the stairs. She did not run down the stairs.
Yeah, there's something going on here now.
Something odd about her.
Well, he goes back to see Baroness Kessler again, and they compare pictures in her copy, and they're also different from the other 2 copies. Someone then knocks Corso out, and when he wakes up, the Baroness is dead and the place is on fire. Her book burns up. When he gets back to his hotel, his copy of the book is also gone. The concierge says he let his wife into the room. Balkan calls and wants his book back, but Corso admits he doesn't have it anymore. Green Eyes shows up, but she's not the one who took the book. He thinks it was Leanna Tefler.
Tefler, yeah.
Corso and Green Eyes then steal a car and follow Leanna and her bodyguard out to her house, a big home in the country. Other people are arriving. It's the night of the big ritual for the Silver Serpents.
Party!
They contract Leanna, who pulls a gun on them. Corso knocks out the bodyguard, and the two crash the party. In the middle of everything, Boris Belkin barges in and calls them all buffoons. Boris Belkin barges with buffoons.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
We're reading too many of these. He and Leanna argue about the silly ritual. When Corso tries to get in the middle of it, Green Eyes flies down and stops him. Balkan then strangles Leanna and runs the others off. Clearly the rules are optional now.
Yeah, and she points out, just let Balkan do his thing. He's going to kill somebody in front of everybody, all these witnesses, and he's going to get killed, blamed for all the other murders. You're off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Corso didn't actually hurt anybody anyway. Not really.
But this way, Balkan's on the hook for all of it.
He's clearly involved.
He's clearly with all these witnesses. And, yeah.
Corso follows Balkan to his castle way up in the mountains and watches as Balkan lays out the 9 pictures from the book. He's figured out the puzzle.
The 9 Lucifer drawings.
He pours a big ring of gasoline and sets it afire with him inside it. He says he can feel the power, and then, just to show off, he pours the gasoline all over himself and sets himself on fire, thinking he's immortal now. And after quite a long time, he starts to scream.
And then he realizes, I've made a terrible mistake.
It's hard to put the fire out.
Yeah.
Corso grabs the 9 pictures and shoots Balkan, who still isn't quite dead. Outside, Green Eyes meets him at the car and gives him a big kiss before they have sex in front of the burning castle. Later, Corso asks, is the game over? She replies that she gave Balkan a forgery of the 9th picture. That's why it went wrong.
Uh-huh.
When he stops to gas up the car, she leaves him a note letting him know he should go back to the old man's bookstore, and then she disappears. He goes back to that bookstore, which is now empty. Among the trash is the 9th plate from the book. The 2 old men had it all along.
So now Corso's got all 9 copies.
He goes back to the castle, and he's going to try the gate.
I guess.
The end.
I mean, it was kind of like, yeah. I guess that was what he was going to do.
You can't show what happens after you open the gateway to hell, because then things come through, and that's a different movie.
And so was she the devil or a demon, or what was she exactly? Just some succubus that was doing the devil's bidding? Or
well, we don't know.
That was never really
She
clear.
was super magical, that's for sure.
Yeah, she was definitely not human or superpowered human.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, the books are worth fortunes, and all Corso does is smoke cigarettes around them and toss them onto desks. This may be the chain smokiest movie ever. It's like they went out of their way to have a cigarette or 2 in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't care if people smoke. I've seen trigger warnings for smoking.
Yeah.
But it's just in this case with these super expensive, rare pieces of paper, that's just dumb.
And he's a heavy smoker. Yeah.
At least the Baroness told him he couldn't smoke in her library.
Yeah.
You know, the library that burned down. It's a slowly unfolding mystery where the main character has to find 3 MacGuffins in order to solve a puzzle. It's a little too slow and draggy in the middle after the Countess dies. We don't see the devil, unless Green Eyes is the devil. There also isn't really much magic or special effects. It's mostly just a mystery thriller that involves a hunt for a satanic book. If you're a Johnny Depp fan, it's all right.
It was okay.
It's not great, though.
No, it wasn't.
Which takes us to 1957's The Night of the Demon, also known as Curse of the Demon. Directed by Jacques Tourneur.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Charles Bennett, Hal E. Chester, and M.R. James. Stars Dana Andrews, Peggy Cummins, and Neil McGuinness. Hour and 35 minutes.
So, classic old actors.
This is the one where Dana Andrews gets the runes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Spoiler free, it's well made, with good acting and realistic dialogue, but it's awfully slow moving. The ending is satisfying, but we thought it took too long to get there.
Yep, that's what I thought.
In other words, it's got suspense.
Lots of suspense.
You're going to wait for a good ending.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about it.
Well, we start with a scene and voiceover of Stonehenge discussing ancient runic symbols and the powers of darkness, the demons of hell. And it was a dark and foggy night, as a man drives down a long, lonely, deserted road.
We've seen this movie 10 times before.
It's a creepy drive through the country, but he soon arrives at a big house. Professor Harrington demands to see Dr. Carswell immediately. Harrington insists that Carswell call a halt to what he started, and Carswell insists on privacy for himself and his followers.
We don't know what's going on, but the guy wants it stopped.
Yeah, he's upset about this. Well, Harrington then goes back outside and drives home. Gave up kind of easy, I thought, for as insistent as he was. As soon as he gets out of his car, a giant demon comes out of the darkness. Harrington backs his car into the power lines and is electrocuted as the beast reaches for him.
It takes a little suspension of disbelief and a little imagination with this demon.
A little bit, yeah. Well, John Holden, a prominent psychologist, is flying to London to attend the scientists' conference. Lloyd Wilson is Harrington's man and picks him up at the airport. Holden tells the press that he doesn't believe in any supernatural beings. Lloyd explains that Professor Harrington was found dead this morning. Harrington was trying to disprove the cult that Carswell runs. And Holden plans to do an expose on Carswell's cult. And Dr. Kumar from India comes in and says he believes in devils and demons. Carswell calls on the phone and threatens Holden. Holden goes to the library and is told that the 400-year-old book he wants has gone missing.
I bet Johnny Depp took it.
Probably, yeah. Or, yeah. Looking for the MacGuffin. Yeah. Well, Carswell has a copy of the book and offers to let Holden read it. Holden goes to Harrington's funeral and meets Joanna, Harrington's niece, who sat behind him on the plane. She thinks he's in danger. Her uncle was killed because of the investigation into Carswell's cult. Well, the next morning, the two of them drive to Carswell's mansion, and he's doing a magic show for a bunch of children. Carswell explains he used to be a professional clown and introduces his mother to them. Holden asks to see the missing book, and Carswell says that he spent his life trying to decipher its contents. Carswell makes the weather get dark and windy, which puts an end to the children's party.
Okay, well, that looked real. He made magic.
Real magic. Carswell then predicts that Holden will die at 10 o'clock on the 28th, in 3 days' time. He then tells them both to leave. Well, later, Holden goes back to his hotel room and hears footsteps coming down the exceptionally long hallway. He still says that all the supernatural is just simply mass hysteria. He opens his calendar and finds that all the pages after the 28th are torn out. Don't need them anymore.
You've got no future anyway.
Yeah. Joanna says the same thing happened to her father's calendar. And they find out that Carswell has given Holden cursed magic runes. So Holden goes to see Mrs. Hobart, the mother of a man supposedly driven criminally insane by Carswell's magic. She gives permission to Holden to hypnotize her son to find out what really happened. And when they see his paper with the runes, they know they are all doomed. And the characters keep building on this. Carswell's mother wants Holden to meet Mr. and Mrs. Meeks. They're doing a seance. Holden still thinks it's all phony. Meeks starts the seance, does a bunch of voices, including the old dead Professor Harrington. He replays Harrington's final moments, and Holden still insists it's all fake. Well, Holden sneaks into Carswell's house that night. He wants to see that book. A house cat turns into a leopard and attacks him. When Carswell comes in, everything's fine. Carswell tells Holden not to walk through the woods back to his car, but Holden doesn't listen. So, Holden watches as the demon appears above him in the trees. Or is it just a cloud of smoke?
You'd think you could tell the difference.
You'd think you could tell, yeah. Holden and Joanna go to the police, but they think it's all ridiculous. Carswell's mother calls Joanna to warn her about her evil son. Mr. Hobart finally arrives from the asylum, and Holden hypnotizes the man on stage before an audience. Hobart describes being chased by a demon just like Holden was. And he also says his time allowed to prepare for his death is almost up. And then the rune-filled parchment is passed on to you, you die. Holden shows him his own parchment.
You mean like one of these?
Yeah. The only way to survive is pass the parchment back to the man who gave it to you in the first place. Hobart jumps out the hospital window, many floors up. Well, Holden runs to the train station. It's 9:45, so he only has 15 minutes left. He pulls out his runes and has to find Carswell. So he joins Carswell in his train car. He's got Joanna there under hypnosis. Holden offers Carswell a letter stating he believes everything and that Carswell was right all along. Well, Carswell isn't stupid, refusing every item that Holden tries to offer him. Holden knows he has to pass the rune parchment back to Carswell. So Holden hands Carswell's coat to him with the paper in the pocket, and only 2 minutes to go. Carswell runs after the runes and gets run over by a train in the fog. Or was that a demon?
Definitely a demon.
Definitely a demon. Maybe it's better not to know, Holden admits.
Okay. Well, it's a story about a skeptic who comes into contact with what's supposed to be real occult stuff.
It's supposed to be.
Which side will be proven correct? Well, considering we saw the demon in the opening shot, it's not terribly suspenseful. The director didn't want a demon to appear at all, but the studio insisted and put that in the film during post-production. It might have been more interesting without seeing the demon.
Yeah, it might have been.
This one's considered a classic and has really nice visuals and dialogue, but it's also very slow-paced. A lot of people going from here to there just talking. As Holden was putting Hobart into hypnosis, it was all I could do not to nod off as well. Wonder if I'd have jumped out the window. Well, the climax is good, but it took an awfully long time to get there.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Wasn't that gripping.
So, Restore Point, we both liked.
Oh, yeah.
MexZombies, we both liked.
Uh-huh.
The Ninth Gate, we're both very mid about. It's all right. Night of the Demon, a classic that is kind of meh.
Kind of meh.
Yeah.
Awfully meh. Yeah.
Over at Horror Bulletin, you can read our reviews of Varan the Unbelievable, which we both thought was atrocious, and The Evil Eye, which we both thought was underrated and pretty good.
Restore Point was my favorite of the week.
100% in agreement on all of these.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, definitely Restore Point is the big one this week.
Uh-huh.
Although MexZombies was fun. It's not quite on the level as Restore Point. Okay, so that's it for this week. Stop in over at HorrorGuys.com to read our daily reviews, HorrorBulletin.com to get a weekly email newsletter, Horror Guys Shop to pick up one of our many, many, many books, or if you're into those free biographies, check out our new site, hourlongpress.com, because it's a press that makes hour-long books.
Takes you about an hour to read them.
Hourlongpress.com,
How fun is that?
We're not going to be pushing these hour-long books after we get out of the horror topics, but within the next month or so, we're going to start having books on there that are not horror-related, just general topics that are fun to read. If you want to learn something new every week, why not read a free book about some random topic?
History and famous people. And
Yeah. All kinds of good stuff. All right, well, that's it for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And what do we do next week?
We're going to talk about more movies, aren't we?
I thought you were going to say see you, but that's good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next
We'll
week.
see you next week.
We'll see you.
See ya.